Hey, Stoic warrior. We live in a world that worships noise. Everyone is talking. Everyone is explaining. Everyone is desperate to be understood. People argue to be right, post to be seen, speak to be validated. And yet, they remain empty inside. But the Stoic, he doesn't chase, he doesn't beg, he doesn't explain. Because he knows something the world has forgotten. Silence is a superpower. Silence is not weakness. It's restraint. It's the unshakable calm that comes from knowing who you are, even when the world misunderstands you. Most people panic when they're ignored. They text again. They call again. They write long paragraphs, hoping to be heard. But that's not power. That's dependency, wearing the mask of love. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. When you chase someone's attention, you hand them your peace. When you beg for understanding, you lose your dignity. When you explain yourself to those who don't want to understand, you give them control over your emotional state. And that's not stoicism. That's self-abandonment. The Stoic walks away in silence, not to punish, but to protect his peace. He knows. You don't prove your worth through words. You prove it through discipline. You don't earn respect by reacting louder. You earn it by standing still while everyone else trembles. So today, we're going to uncover 6 powerful truths. 6 Stoic lessons that will teach you why silence is not emptiness. It's energy in control. Why you should never chase, never beg, and never explain yourself again. This is your moment to rise above noise. Take a deep breath. Feel the calm in your chest, and say quietly, "My silence is my power." Let's begin. Number 1. Silence is the language of strength. Silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. The world tells you that speaking louder makes you strong, that defending yourself makes you powerful, that being heard means you matter. But the Stoics knew the opposite. They understood that true strength doesn't shout, it stands still. When everyone reacts, you observe. When everyone argues, you breathe. When everyone seeks to prove themselves, you simply exist in your truth. That's power most people will never know. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. This quote isn't just wisdom, it's a weapon, because it reminds you, your peace is your choice. The way others treat you, speak to you, or ignore you doesn't define you. Your reaction does. Every time you stay silent when your ego wants to scream, you win a battle most people never fight. Every time you hold your composure instead of explaining yourself, you show strength that words could never capture. The weak crave attention. The strong command it without trying. The man who can remain silent while the world tests him has already conquered the loudest enemy of all, his own emotions. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, explain, or beg, pause. Remember, silence isn't you losing, it's you choosing. Choosing clarity over chaos, choosing peace over pride, choosing control over confusion. That is the language of strength. That is Stoic silence. Number 2. Silence makes people question themselves. There's something mysterious about silence that words can never achieve. When you stop talking, people start listening. When you stop explaining, people start thinking. When you stop chasing, they start wondering, what changed? That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. Elbert Hubbard. When you go quiet after someone mistreats you, they're forced to face themselves. Silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors never lie. Your stillness says everything their ego can't handle. I saw what you did. I understand what you showed me. And I choose not to explain my worth. Most people use silence as a punishment. But Stoics use silence as a statement. It says, I value myself enough to stop repeating what's already clear. And here's the truth. The moment you stop chasing, their power fades. Because they realize they no longer control your emotions. They no longer decide your peace. They no longer have access to your energy. Silence confuses manipulators, exposes pretenders, and humbles the arrogant. It makes people rethink their choices, because now your absence speaks louder than your defense ever could. That's why the Stoics mastered detachment, not to appear cold, but to stay free. So stop explaining yourself to those who never tried to understand you. Stop chasing those who only come closer when you pull away. Stop begging to be seen by people who are blind to your value. Let your silence be the echo that teaches them what your words never could. Number 3. Silence builds emotional control. Emotional control is the core of Stoic strength. The world may call it indifference, but Stoics call it freedom. Most people live as slaves to their emotions. They get a message. They react. They get ignored. They panic. They feel misunderstood. They explain. Every word, every silence from others controls their inner world. But the Stoic learns to pause. He doesn't rush to respond. He doesn't chase clarity in chaos. He observes his emotions like a warrior watches a storm, unmoved, patient, and aware that storms always pass. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. That's the essence of silence. It's not about being quiet. It's about being in control. You don't stay silent because you're afraid to speak. You stay silent because you refuse to lose control of your peace. When someone insults you, your silence says, I will not dance to the rhythm of your chaos. When someone leaves you, your silence whispers, I am not afraid of my own company. When someone doubts you, your silence declares, you'll see my truth in time. That's what makes silence so powerful. It transforms reaction into reflection. Every time you hold back a reaction, you're training your inner world. You're mastering your impulses. You're creating emotional armor. And eventually, nothing, no rejection, no loss, no insult can shake you anymore. Because your silence has built something unbreakable inside you. Self-command. Remember, the strongest man is not the one who can fight everyone. It's the one who doesn't need to. Number 4. Silence protects your energy. Your energy is your currency. Every time you chase, beg, or explain, you're spending it. You're giving parts of yourself away to people who haven't earned them. That's why Stoics guard their silence like a fortress. They know not everyone deserves access to their thoughts, emotions, or intentions. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. When you constantly explain yourself, you teach people that your boundaries are negotiable. When you beg to be understood, you teach them that your worth depends on their approval. And when you chase their validation, you hand them the keys to your peace. That's why silence is protection. It creates distance between you and the chaos of others. It filters who truly values your presence and who only feeds on your attention. Think about it. Why do manipulators panic when you go silent? Because they lose control. They no longer have access to your emotions, your reactions, or your focus. When you walk away silently, you break their game. When you stop explaining, you remove their power to twist your words. When you stop chasing, you force them to meet you on your terms, or not at all. Your silence creates scarcity, and scarcity creates respect. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You understand that not everyone deserves your energy, not every battle deserves your response, and not every noise deserves your attention. From now on, protect your peace like a sacred temple. Let silence guard its gates, because once your energy is calm, no one can control you again. Number 5. Silence turns pain into power. The Stoic doesn't escape pain, he transforms it. And silence is the crucible where that transformation happens. When you're hurt, your mind screams for attention, for validation, for closure. But the Stoic sits with that pain. He doesn't run from it. He doesn't post it. He doesn't beg anyone to fix it. He listens to it in silence. Because silence is where pain speaks its deepest truth. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every disappointment, they're not there to destroy you. They're there to build your emotional armor. In silence, you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Pain becomes your teacher, stillness becomes your classroom, and silence becomes your weapon. You stop seeking revenge or closure because you already have something stronger: understanding. You realize that some losses are simply lessons in disguise. Some endings are new beginnings wrapped in pain. And some people are sent not to love you, but to awaken you. Silence lets you absorb the lesson without bitterness. It helps you heal without needing validation. It turns your wounds into wisdom. Because when you can sit in silence with your pain and still find peace, you've mastered life itself. Number 6. Silence speaks louder than words. The greatest men in history understood one simple truth. You don't need to announce power. You radiate it. The Stoic doesn't shout to be heard. He doesn't prove to be believed. He doesn't chase to be chosen. Because his presence already speaks. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. When you master silence, you master communication without words. People feel your calmness. They sense your detachment. They notice your discipline. And they begin to respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because your composure forced them to. That's the paradox of silence. The quieter you become, the louder your impact grows. Every time you don't react, you teach others how to treat you. Every time you walk away instead of arguing, you raise your value. Every time you stay still while others spiral, you remind them, control is power. Words are temporary. Silence is eternal. Words fade in noise. Silence echoes in memory. Your silence will make people curious. Your silence will make them rethink. And your silence will make them realize what your words could never prove. That peace is your natural state, and not everyone is invited into it. So stay silent, not because you don't care, but because you do care deeply about your own energy. You care enough to protect it, to nurture it, to let it grow in peace. The Stoic doesn't need to speak to be understood. He needs only to live his truth quietly. That's real power. The calm that conquers all. At some point in your journey, you'll realize you never needed to chase anyone. You never needed to beg for clarity. You never needed to explain your worth, because everything meant for you respects silence, and everything not meant for you falls away when you go quiet. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Zeno of Citium. Silence is not absence, it's presence, intensified. It's the voice of wisdom that doesn't need an audience. It's the echo of strength that doesn't need validation. So the next time someone misunderstands you, stay silent. The next time you're tempted to chase, stay grounded. The next time you want to explain, breathe instead. Because your peace doesn't live in their response. It lives in your restraint. You don't owe explanations to anyone who cannot see your worth. You don't owe closure to anyone who broke your peace. You owe only one thing: loyalty to your higher self. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. You'll be too busy growing in silence to notice. And one day, when they finally understand what your silence meant, you'll already be too far ahead to care. Stay silent. Stay strong. Stay stoic.